Wow, guys, Future Game Show was incredible. So many games, so many announcements, and they were paced to perfection. So much so, I was hooked throughout my entire live stream, which you can find in the live section. Again, I'll put the link in the description below. And I think this was done by them not only giving attention to the games that are coming out in a couple of years that might be changing, and also these random indie games, but also giving attention to these sort of mid-tier games. You know, the ones that tend to kind of not get much attention. We used to do that with old events, and they're brought it back. And I discovered so many games that I was like, how did I not know about this? Awesome job there. And also, I hope Jeff Keighley is taking note of this. They did not do any of these cringy, prolonged interviews with these developers that and asking these daft questions just to fill up the show and dragging it off for 3 hours and adding so many ads like Jeff is doing these days. And again, Xbox is also copying. So thank you. It was just punch after punch after punch. Brilliant. One thing though, guys, well, I would say two things. First of all, some of the presentations, some of the jokes, they were pretty cringy. So guys in FGS, please, we're not 10-year-olds. You know, it was kind of funny at times, but mostly very, very, very cringy. And also, please stop with these pre-shows and after shows where so many good games are kind of getting shoved in there, and people kind of tend to miss them unnecessarily. So please kind of improve that side of things. But overall, brilliant. And they started with an absolute bang, guys, with this sort of vibe of Vietnam. And, you know, well, it was Vietnam, but just kind of these great looking sets, you know. And I was thinking, hang on a second, what is this? And then they revealed it. It was Hell Let Loose. And I gotta admit, I'm not a huge Hell Let Loose fan, but it kind of looked interesting. Again, the developer kind of expanded upon that in the Aftershow, which I think is a nice touch, and that's what Aftershows should be. And again, from what I saw, it looks pretty decent. Again, you can check out the Aftershow separately because I didn't do it in my live coverage, but looks pretty decent. Then we had Edge of Memories, which was this sort of a JRPG with these very nice looking sets, you know, with that floating in the air. Brilliant design, brilliant characters. Well, from what I say, again, I'm a sucker for these sort of anime looking stuff from, you know, with JRPGs and so on. But I was kind of a bit like, 2026? Without an actual date, probably gonna be mid or late. Damn. But looks pretty good. They also kind of showed a couple of things, but one thing that kind of stood out for me was Den of Wolves, which is made by the Payday guys, and they kind of going with the vibe of Cyberpunk meeting Payday. It looks pretty awesome, not gonna lie. Again, they didn't give any particular dates on it, but kind of the whole idea got me hooked. I want to see a bit more of that. Then they showed a couple of more things, but they also showed what I would say a pre-alpha. And the reason I say that, guys, is because there was no textures, there was no amazing graphics or anything, because what they were showcasing was a very early build, and it was to showcase the technology and what you could do with Skate. So they're bringing the game back into the modern era, and it looks awesome. So if you're a Skate fan or somebody that's getting into it, I know so many friends that game to them is an absolute classic. This got a lot of potential. Can't wait to see how, you know, where it's going to go and how it's going to kind of develop. But then I saw something and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Imagine Kingdom Come Deliverance meets For Honor. And that was 1348 Ex Voto, I think. Yes, I think that's what it's called. Ex Voto, and it just looked sick. Amazing. And the whole vibe of the Kingdom Come Deliverance, loved it. Although, having said that, the main protagonist looks like he's like 12. So kind of a bit like, okay. But it's coming out early 2026 and can't wait to hear more about it. Got me excited as well. And then we moved on to showing a bit more of Resident Evil Requiem. I'm already sold. Stop teasing. I want it now. Having said that though, the developer was saying that the main protagonist is this sort of introverted, kind of easily scared person. So not quite sure how that would work out in the world of Resident Evil. But guys, I'm already hooked. I'm already sold. And then, as well as some other games, they showed Blood of Dawnwalker. Some of the Witcher developers giving us another awesome looking game where you're a vampire at night and a human during the day. Your decisions affect the entirety of the game. You're restricted by the time, and all of these decisions, all of these choices come together from what the developers were kind of talking about. Again, they expanded upon it a bit more throughout the show, so do recommend checking it out. But that game looks like it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. Cannot wait. And then, surprise for me, Hell is Us. This horror theme game meets these puzzles. And then saying that it's coming out September 4th? Like, what? How did I not know about this? Some of you guys might have already heard about it, but me, for some reason, I completely missed that. And that was a point I raised earlier. Guys, the game looked awesome. And I'll definitely either play it or at least kind of check it out because, wow, the concept looks absolutely sick. Then we had this sort of an RTS game with that was called Dog Switch. And I love the idea because they kind of twisting the RTS with RTS meets survival, and this sort of big tree, and they were kind of building around there, getting resources and so on. And apparently from what I saw, at night things changes with these sort of the demons, creatures, whatever you want to call it, but looks sick. And apparently there's a demo out for it, so I'm definitely gonna be giving that a download and giving it a check out. And looks great from what I've seen so far, and the concept of kind of changing the whole RTS scene is amazing. And then we had the Ever Siege, which was this sort of RTS kind of Age of Mythology style thing where you had like heroes. From what I could see, it looks decent, nothing too uber exciting, but again, looks all right to me. And then we had the weirdness. The name itself, like, what the hell? Pizza Bandit? Honestly, guys, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, right? Apparently, from what I could see, you're a chef, and then you're killing zombies, and then you're cooking. It just looked nuts. I was like, wait, what? What am I even seeing here? It doesn't look incredible in terms of graphics, but it looks like something that you can have a lot of fun with. So let's keep an eye out on that. And apparently it's coming out in couple of weeks, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Then we got a few other games that look pretty decent, but also they showed Seven Deadly Sins game, a bit more of it, and I'm kind of a bit excited about it. Having said that, though, they haven't shown a lot. Obviously, the universe is awesome, and it's coming out very soon. So definitely, I will be checking it out. I love my JRPGs. So let's just see how that goes as well. But again, we went to this other game called Fellowship. I think that's what it was called. And this sort of a MOBA four-player co-op, from what I could see. They talked about it a little bit more, again, in Aftershow. So thank you for leaving that for then. And from what I could gather from what the developer was saying is they're going with this sort of RPG MOBA thing, but they're streamlining it in a way that is also friendly to the people that don't necessarily have the time to kind of expert up like, you know, you have to with a mobile game. So again, it's something that looks awesome, that is interesting. So let's see how that goes. Then they showcased another game which was called God, Death, and Reapers. I think I'm just keep trying to look through my notes. What was it? God, Death, Reapers. But yes, that's what it was called. And you know what? Imagine I'm currently playing Titan Quest, which is this sort of ARPG single player game. Imagine the pacing and the kind of a craft with that, meeting the vibe and the feel of Path of Exile, except not the sort of the pace, and kind of mash them together. And that's what it kind of gave me the vibes of. I am a sucker for ARPGs, so definitely my jam. Again, it said it's pre-alpha, but obviously they showcased a gameplay that seemed decent to me. So I would say probably mid 2026 or something, but they didn't give any particular dates. They also showcased Styx. Styx is back. The goblin, the assassinations, the theft. Looks decent, looks hella fun. They also showed Anno as well, and looks, again, very good. Graphically for an RTS, looks awesome. I love the concept with the whole thing that you can kind of, your decisions that you're making can affect how the empire deals with you, or how the locals deal with you, or how the kind of the gods and nature kind of affects you and so on. It's a really awesome idea. It's kind of expanding and improving on the whole concept of RTS, similar to the other game that we're talking about. So apparently, again, a demo is coming out. Having said that, though, what was it? It's coming out like November 13th, I think. Such a bad day. You're going to get absolutely massacred with Call of Duty. So I hope they delay it. And I mean that with all due respect, because games like that would just get destroyed when they go in against stuff like Call of Duty. Although they're completely different, they just go under the radars. But looks pretty fun. Then there was a game that I really liked, Towa and the Guardian of Sacred Tree. Now I'm looking at the name just to make sure, rather than just my notes, because it's a bit of a long one. And it's this sort of a top-down JRPG that is kind of like this hand-drawn, like pencil drawn and so on. Really love the vibe, really love the design. Again, I said that I'm a huge RPG, fan and so on, but guys, looked great. And apparently there's a demo out for it. So you know what? I will always download stuff like this with demos, because I want demos to come back, because it gives us as gamers the opportunity to actually check the game. You know what I mean? Rather than just buying it because everything is becoming digital these days and then getting a nasty surprise. So job well done. Definitely do recommend giving it a go, because it looks great. Then there was a couple of other games shown, but then there was another one, Lost Helden, from music from Hitoshi Sakimoto. Guys, Final Fantasy, everything. And once again, this sort of hand-drawn, this water style, beautiful vibes, JRPG, absolutely loved it. Again, they didn't give too much dates, but once again, from what they showed, I'm assuming probably 2026. But great game from what I've seen, what they showed, shall we say. And then they showed this game, Phantom Blade, and the developer kind of insisted that this is an action RPG. And from what I could see, it's kind of like God of War / Ninja Gaiden meeting Elden Ring. And you know what? I actually like that because these days you get a lot, and I mean a ton of games kind of going into that sort of Souls-like games where you got one-on-one fights. You're getting less of these active fighting games. But when you get them like Black Myth Wukong and so on, they're pretty awesome. And the fact that the developer was saying that there's like master kung fu artists are actually kind of involved with this, and all these motions that are happening in the game are actual moves that kung fu masters are doing. Looks awesome. Looks awesome. It didn't give much of a with the Phantom Blade Zero. It didn't give me much of a date. He was keep saying it's coming out, go on Instagram and so on, but I haven't, been able to see anything. But again, from what he showed and what he was kind of saying, he was saying it's coming out later this year, but don't know, bit odd to be this coy when we're in end of August if it's this year, but you know what I mean. Then we had another game, Active Matter, and this to me was Chernobyl games on steroids. That's probably the best description I can give it, with ton of enemies, this sort of post-apocalyptic world, shooting stuff. It doesn't look incredible, but it looked hella fun. And you know what? It kind of addresses some of the boring elements of Chernobyl. But again, let's see how that kind of develops. And they also showed, again, a few other games. Honestly, there's so many that if I kind of name every single one, I will be here forever. Most of them just got me hooked. I'm just picking up a few that grab probably more of my attention. They also showed Pragmata. Again, to me, if I compare Pragmata to Kronos, which I would say both of them are kind of taking a lot of inspiration from Dead Space, I like Pragmata more because it's looks great. It also has this very unique vibe, so it's adding a bit more to the Dead Space nature rather than just kind of tight, this very scripted environments with just these hellish creatures. So, I like the concept, and the cute little android girl. It's like, oh, bless. It looks quite fun, and the emotion between them. I'm getting the vibes that they're going for that whole father-daughter kind of thing. Could be a really interesting, concept that I can't wait. Again, with the Aftershow, there were quite a few games that was announced. I'm just trying to kind of look at my notes, thinking what were they? Yeah, one was called Last Flag, and that was this sort of like Team Fortress kind of vibe that it gave me, where the guy was saying that you can position, you move your flag to a specific location so you can hide it. So it's a capture the flag game. So you know what? It looks kind of fun, to play with friends and so on. Although they were kind of showing up the game, showing the gameplay and so on. They were saying that it's 2026, so let's see how that develops. It could be a fun kind of couch play, fun co-op game with your friends and whatnot, but let's see. They also show an interesting one. Again, this felt like a tech demo from what they show, but it's an interesting one. The reason I say that is it's called Gods Save Birmingham. Yes, that's what it is. And what I like is, imagine, what would it be like if you have a zombie outbreak, but it's in like medieval times? Like, kind of awesome. Why has nobody else done that? Like, why? Like, you know what? That idea alone got me at least hooked and interested to see what they do. From what they kind of showcased, it looks a bit, how we say, very low budget, but very interesting. Very interesting. Now, I think there was a couple of other stuff. I'm just looking at the notes. Yes, there was one that was called North Orphan Blood. There was quite a few things that they showed, but North Orphan Blood, this sort of 10 based Viking game. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like, it looked kind of fun. Again, not looking incredible, but also at the same time, it's now under my radar to see where they're kind of gonna go with it. It's an interesting thing. Turn-based combat where you got different Viking members and so on. Let's see how that develops. But again, one of those very big surprises for me that's just around the corner was Metal Eden. And you know what? It felt like I was playing Doom, except in this sort of futuristic, cyberpunkish, like what the hell moment. And it's coming out 2nd of September. Why am I missing these things? I need to improve my information gathering, guys. Clearly, I'm missing so many good stuff, man. Like, looked pretty awesome. Definitely gonna be checking it out. You know, at least seeing what other people are talking about and maybe playing it myself and live streaming it. Looked pretty fun. Also, there was another one that kind of piqued my interest. Jump Space. This sort of Starfield meets Destiny, where you got this party and then you get into your starship going between different planets and then kind of fighting other starships and so on. And they announced apparently it's coming out September 19th and so on. So interesting one. But you know what? As I said, guys, I named so many games, but there were so many other games that I loved in the show. And not because they were AAA, quadruple A games that are insane budgets, but they were, as I said, games that kind of tend to go under the radar. So thank you, Future Game Show, for giving us this brilliant show where I kind of get to see and discover these stuff that I've clearly missed. It's been wonderful. Brilliant job there. Really, really, really enjoyed it. And again, guys, highly recommend, whether it's watching my live stream or even, which would be appreciated, by the way, or either actually watching the event itself. And again, with the after show for next year, guys, one feedback, as I said, please leave the interviews for then. They did it partially, but just move some of the other trailers and just leave the longer periods just in there. That is a fantastic way of doing it. But enough yapping, guys. Hope this video is somewhat giving you better perspective. And if it has, smash that like button, do subscribe. I'm going to be also doing another video. I'm not live streaming today of the Xbox Day 2 because the first day was meh. And I'm then going to combine Day 1 and Day 2 together and just kind of do a show of general thoughts on Xbox's events and what they kind of showcase in case if there's any surprises. Sadly, there was no Persona by the look of it. I heard from a couple of places that there might be, but yeah, sad times. Never mind. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, peace.